Hey guys, happy Sunday, Creator Mom. Hope you're doing well. Have you ever noticed that, like, when we do things body focused or somatic, that's a popular word these days, that we feel better, right? That's just like a known thing. Like, oh, I'm gonna go to the gym. I feel so good when I get out the gym and shit like that, right? Like, because, or when we're dancing, or when we're exercising, or when we're doing Pilates or yoga, we're like, wow, when we're doing things where we're in our body and moving our body in a focused way, we just feel so much better. Or taking a beautiful walk, a brisk walk, it's like, wow, I feel so much better. We're moving our body, right? We feel more spiritual. We feel more connected to God, who is in us, right? Or when we take a hike in nature, we feel so connected to ourselves, to God. And I think that's just such a beautiful thing, And lately, when I've been exercising or whatever, I've been thinking about, wow, like what exercise means to me. And to me, it means being connected, finding a way to connect with my body, where I'm at right now. And I think for me, that's a really cool way to see it, because it takes the pressure off being or it takes kind of like the ego out of it, or the flesh mind, where it's just like, oh, I'm doing this so I can get a certain result, you know what I'm saying? Or so I can look a certain way. I feel like there's almost like a pressure to it when you think about it with the kind of like with the goal-orientated, like performance-based mind. There's like a pressure to it. But when we really sit down and think about it, why does exercise make us feel so good? Yeah, they say that stuff about the hormones and stuff, but there's something about being connected and doing focused movement in our bodies that makes us feel connected and spiritual. And I would also like to mention that when you go to church, how do churches start their services? Well, depending on what church you go to, I guess, whatever, but say a Pentecostal or Christian non-denominational church, praise and worship is how the service is started. And the church I used to go to is a lot of singing, a lot of worship, and then first there's more structured worship, right? Maybe there's a song and they have the words up there and everybody's singing. Why? It opens up the gates, it opens things up, right? That's why God said, hey, come to me with praise and thanksgiving first. Enter my gates, because that's how we enter the gates. That's how we enter into that connection with ourselves, with God. Singing. My friend Karen Boom talks a lot about singing and beats and how healing that is and such. So it's all connected, and just how I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it, but yeah, how we start praise and worship, singing, opening our mouths. And then of course when you're singing, you're moving too, you're worshiping, you're moving your hands, you're lifting your arms up, you're moving your body. Again, depending on what church you go to. But see, I feel like if you go to a church that doesn't do that stuff, it gets stale. It gets stale. Shit just gets stale, like stale bread. So it's just when you go to church and you open up with the praise and worship, it just kind of gets everything in a flow, gets everything connected and jiving. Anyways, so yeah, and I mean, hopefully if one goes to church, they go to a church that has a lot of freedom, which is good, like freedom of movement, dancing up and down the aisles, playing with flagging, and all that stuff makes us feel more connected. And then, they come with the message and all that, which then gets us all into our headspace, which is not a bad thing, because I find that when you move and exercise or you're singing, it gets you thinking better. You know what I'm saying? depending on what the message is, but that's just another story. So yeah, there's no doubt that connecting with our body, moving, singing, gets us feeling better, it gets us thinking better, it gets us more connected. And I think that that is the most beautiful thing about exercise or being somatic. And that's all I want to say. And if you feel like it, and if you feel inspired to, find a way to connect with your body, no matter what that is. Even if you're sick and you feel like you have no energy, there's restorative yoga. You know what I'm saying? Which is very, very restorative. Restorative yoga is very restorative, and I'm so glad for having been put on to it. So there's different ways to connect with our body, and even if it's through gentle movement, you know. All right, guys, have a wonderful Sunday.